hospital porter's pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panmo TV, and welcome to this, a roving review of a film. The film is called Nope.
Okay guys, I'm going to try something new. I'll probably get a third-party strike for it, which is a bit annoying. But I thought I'd... it's basically me reacting to the trailer. Before I go off and see this film, I want to just watch the trailer and then react to it. Now, it seems silly actually that there'd be any kind of copyright strike on a film trailer. I mean, the whole point of a film trailer is it's for free distribution so that people watch it and then go and see the film. But there you go. It's the AI we're talking about here, and AI, unfortunately, is not very I. So I'm going to watch the trailer now and give me my impressions of it. I'll probably pause it at certain points. Now, what I wanted to do was, like, one thing I can't work out how to do with OBS, and it's, you know, but it's really annoying actually. And I'm sure there's a very simple way to do it. I just haven't bothered to find out. It's just laziness on my part. But you know, with OBS, where you put in like different frames like this, I tried to do one here and it didn't work. Things like that. I tried to do a little frame at the top left where you can play two different things at the same time, have two different scenes at the same time. I'll at some point I'll make the effort to learn how to do that, because lots of other people did it, and Kent Baker used to do that all the time, and so again it's just something I never bothered doing. So what I'll do is I'll simply put it on screen share, just regular display capture as I watch this, and I'll pause it at certain points for certain elements of interest. Now I must point out before, I have seen a trailer for Nope before. I think I've seen a couple of them. I've not yet seen this trailer. This is a trailer it's the final trailer, which is 3 minutes long. I've not yet seen. So no further ado, I'll just go to display capture and we will begin.
What if I told you?
Very 90s mobile phone he's got there. It's maybe a period piece set in the past. That's Daniel Kaluuya there.
That today you'll leave here different. Bob.
Oh dear.
I'm talking to you.
Bro, what you say?
Where the guy's full. Is it something UFO related to him falling off his horse? Did he sort of like get abducted then put back or something? I mean, I know this has a UFO theme, you see.
Something above the clouds.
That's big. How big? Big. You think whatever killed Pops?
Oh God. That's Keith David, I can see. That guy there is Keith, and he looks in a bad way. Oh dear, poor chap. Yeah, he looks in a bad way. Of course, you recognise him. Obviously, he was a lot younger, but he was in They Live. He was also in Cloud Atlas. A very good actor. Much better than Daniel Kaluuya, I must say, generally.
It's out there.
Right here, you are going to witness an absolute...
It's clearly set in some kind of desert environment. In the North American deserts, probably, don't know, Arizona or somewhere like that, or Utah or Nevada.
Spectacle.
Electricity going off, not electricity stuff malfunctioning. That's another sign of things going wrong. And that's Keith David there. I've got a feeling he's probably the father of the other two characters.
So what happens next? Are you ready?
Oh, I think I saw a UFO there.
Are you ready?
Oh God! Whoa! Did you see the UFO? I saw the UFO there. Oh God!
Run, okay, run!
Oh my God!
No.
So
This would be an opportunity. I'm talking rich and famous for.
oh, they got those bloody things. These things I see everywhere. They've got them outside. There's this motor showroom near where I work, and they've got one of these. They got a blue version of one of these damn
I'm
things.
talking rich and famous.
They're really annoying. Look, that like that.
Plenty of videos for flying shit online.
Ain't nobody gonna get what we gonna get.
What we gonna get?
The money shot.
What's up?
Undeniable proof of aliens on camera. The Oprah shot.
You guys gonna tell me what's going on?
Hell no. Cause I'm out here, and you're the only person in the world that can get it on film.
That cloud ain't moved an inch.
It's aliens. They're just waiting
aliens.
for the perfect time to shove metal probes up our asses.
Oh, that's right. Wheel out the cliches. They're gonna set a probe into your anus.
Rooting for you.
See, now it's starting to sound a bit like a comedy. The first part of this trailer, I would have said, I'd have called it looks like some kind of alien sci-fi horror, UFO alien based. It's now starting a bit like the second act of this little trailer is starting to sound like a comedy. So we'll carry on anyway.
I think we pissed them off.
Yeah, they repainted your house.
They're gonna come back. You ready? We got some work to do.
Nope.
I'll get him out.
And I'll get the shot.
Let's go, baby! Let's go!
You can see a vinyl disc that dates it. It's probably a period piece in the 90s, I would say, based on the mobile phone and that vinyl disc there player.
I need you to tell me,
What did you see in that cloud?
well, it's not what you think. They took him. They took him all.
I gotta get out this house. I'm trying to save you. My brother is out there.
I don't think they take you. If you don't look at it.
Oh
Look, don't look, don't look.
god. Ugh.
This dream.
There's a guy being sucked up by a by a UFO.
Chasing. Where you end up at the top of the mountain. It's the one you never wake up from.
Ooh. Whoa.
You'll be getting a call
That's so
from my
fine.
supervisor asking how my service was.
5 stars, Angel, 5 stars.
Well, what can I say? That is intriguing. I mean, I watched that and I think horror, comedy, horror, maybe a combination of both. You know, you can have the combinations of the two things. Big Trouble in Little China is a very good horror comedy, I thought. That was by John Carpenter, Did They Live? So, yeah, I mean, that's... Obviously, I'm not a fan of Jordan Peele. I can't stand Get Out. But, that trailer, if I just saw that not knowing who it came from, that looks interesting. The UFO theme is there. That's enough to draw me in. So, now it's time to go and actually watch the movie.
I'm going down this alleyway now. If you're familiar with this alleyway, if you're a regular viewer, it's this alleyway, it's usually quite muddy. This time of year it's not. And so I'm going to walk to the cinema this way. I've just finished work, I'm heading there now. It's quite nice actually, it's quite spooky, quite atmospheric, kind of like, it's a bit sort of fairy tale like almost. I can imagine Aslan or something appearing. But yeah, I'm off to see Nope. Now, a bit of housekeeping issues I've got to deal with first before I get into the movie, because I had a bit of a disagreeable experience. I say, you can probably guess what it is, about choosing which cinema I was going to see this film at. Because you see, it's showing everywhere. It's a big movie. It's showing in all the picture houses in Oxford, except the Phoenix, which is shut. Not the Phoenix, the Ultimate, which is shut for maintenance. But it's showing the independents like Phoenix as well as the chains like Odeon, and of course View, which is where I'm going to now. You can see that someone has been pruning this tree so that people can get through. So you can see it's like a nice archway all the way along. It shows that this is actually a regularly used thoroughfare. Otherwise they wouldn't bother doing it. So yeah, I was going to go to the Curzon again. Now, it's a long time since I've done one of these roving reviews. As you know, if you're a regular viewer. In fact, I checked, actually, I was really surprised. The last time I did a roving film review was November. It was June. It was Dennis Villeneuve's June, do you remember? Blackberries. I always find them down here. Oh, I just can't reach those. They're too high up. There's some lovely ones up there. Well, I just need a step ladder. But, thank you, Mr. Bush. Always thank them, you see. It's very shamanic. Well, basically, what happened was I was going to go to the Curzon. And turns out FAQ, I always have to do this, and I hate doing it, but it's an FAQ payment. We do not accept cash payments at the present time. the Curzon has gone cashless. Now, if you remember the last time I went, there was a bit awkward. I had to go up to the bar because the box office wouldn't take cash, so I went to the bar and paid cash. Now it looks like the bar's gone cashless too. It's all post-lockdown. So, what the hell's going on? I mean, and they said, we don't take cash at the present time. Now, I'm tempted to say, well, will you be in the future? Now, every time I come across a cashless institution, I always ask that question. You don't take cash at the present time. Will you be returning to cash payments at some point? Every single time I've asked that of anyone, they've either said we don't know, or no, we're not. We've got no plans to return just to using cash. We're going to stay permanently cashless. They all became cashless during the lockdown on the pretext that you wouldn't spread the nasty virus on those notes and coins. So they're going to go cashless, temporarily cashless. Now the lockdown's over, and they're going to stay cashless. In Curzon now, I either book in advance, and you're using my savings account, which is not easy, or I can't go to the Curzon anymore. That's strange, because the Curzon's a nice cinema. It's in the new Westgate Centre. It's a brand new one, very pleasant. Now, I checked on the View website. They do. I had to check in advance. Do they still cash? Do they still accept cash? Yes, they do. They said we prefer it if people use card or token payments, but we do realise it's difficult for some people, so we accept cash if necessary. It's almost like, do you have to? Oh, look at those. Look quite. All right. If you have to use cash, but it's really putting us out. It's really awkward. I wish you wouldn't do that. Yeah. So I've got a feeling the View may go cashless as well. I think a time's going to come when I will not be able to buy tickets at the box office anymore. I will have to book in advance using my savings account, which is my savings account is very limited in that capacity, shall we say. So there you go. I don't have to add any more. You know what I think about the whole cashless issue. It pisses me off. That it scares me. So I'm going to go to this film to see Nope. It's my first roving view since November, and I'm going to make the most of it. So I'm going down my little back alley here. Nope. Now, Nope is a film by Jordan Peele. Now, I've got to apologise, I think, for what I can only put down to a temporary burst of insanity. I went to see Jordan Peele's film. Oh, look at them. Oh, nice. I went to see the film Get Out, if you remember. Now, I have left the review up there, but I'm actually quite ashamed of the roving review I gave that film, not least because I think I gave it 7 out of 10 or something ridiculous like that. I do have to say, I must have been out of my mind. Thank you. I must have been out of my bleeding tree. Lovely. I found an apple tree as well earlier on. That was very nice. I had a couple of apples. Lovely. I think it's worth learning where you can forage food, because we might have to at some point in the future, the way things are going. Yeah, I gave it 7 out of 10 or something ridiculous like that. Then when I sort of recovered my senses, I realised I should have given it 0. I mean, it's an absolutely awful film. It's a terrible, terrible movie. Now, if you remember, in fact, if you go to the video I made called Worst Movies, a Hospital Porter Reacts, you'll know that I actually list Get Out as one of the worst films I've ever seen. I talk about its very toxic conceptual elements, the fact it's very anti-white. But generally, it's just a very badly made film. It's a badly made film. The whole thing was shot in 23 days, which was a rush production schedule. And the acting's terrible, the script is drivel. And I say more in that particular film. In the particular film, Worst Movies, a Hospital Porter Reacts. Now, this film I'm going to see, Nope, combines. My hopes are not going to be very high because not only is written and directed by Jordan Peele again, but it also stars Daniel Kaluuya, who played Chris in Get Out. So we have this combination back again, the lead actor and director-writer. So my hopes aren't high. So why am I going to go and see it? Well, everyone on UFO Twitter is raving about it. Also, because basically it has a UFO theme. It has the theme of UFOs and aliens, alien abduction, things like that. I gathered that from watching the trailer. So therefore I'm going to see it for that reason. Now, I want it to be good. I want it to be good. I mean, if there are good elements to it, I'll focus on those good elements. But if it's going to be another massive white guilt trip like Get Out, I'm going to hate it. Because I hate that sort of thing. And so, we'll soon find out. We'll soon find out. From what I gather from the trailer, it appears to be something of like a science fiction alien horror movie with a theme of flying saucers, alien abduction, things like that. It seems to be set in a rural location. There's a small town or something. I suppose that's all I can really tell from the actual trailer. It seems that there's a lot of thrilling music and suspenseful sort of noises and scenes in the trailer. So I assume that the trailer gives the impression to me that it's an action film, a suspense thriller, stroke sci-fi horror. But we'll see. We'll see. Oh, a black cat just walked in front of me. That's good luck. Thank you very much, Mr. Oh, he's gone. I don't know if you saw it. I think he's gone in there. Oh, pussycat. Let's see if I get a shot of the cat. Hello, pussycat. Where are you? Thanks for walking in front of me. All I need now is for a bird to shit on my head, and I'll probably win the lottery. Oh, no, that's not true though, is it? If you remember Truth Seekers Northeast, a bird did precisely that, and I bought a lottery ticket for the first time in about 5 years. I didn't win. Oh well, not to worry. So like I said, the UFO Twitter are raving about it, but are they raving about it in the same... See, people raved about Get Out. I mean, as you know from my film Worst Movies, A Hospital Porter Reacts, I consider Get Out has to be surely the most overrated film ever made. I mean, it got nominated for an Oscar for its Best Original Screenplay. What? It's amateurish dross. And, I get the feeling that Peele is well aware of his own lack of talent. I do really think he knows what a bad screenwriter, filmmaker, director he is. And that's, as I said, I feel very cynical about Get Out. The reason Get Out was so successful is simply, like I said, I call it the Atwood factor because of Margaret Atwood is another good example of this. Well, the Atwood effect, I think is probably better. The Atwood effect. He said, well, let's make it a woke movie then, so that let's introduce this conceptual element, which means that no critic will dare say a bad word about us. No selectors, judges panels for awards. No distributor, no festival organizer will dare to turn us down. Because they might, any of those people might look at it and think, this is rubbish. Oh, hang on a minute. I don't want to be a racist, do I? Let's take it on, give it all, sing its praises, So I got the feeling that's what I feel about Jordan Peele. Now, I've never seen The Black Klansman. Now, The Black Klansman is another movie. I've not seen it, but it was recommended to me by someone who I quite like and whose judgment I quite trust. So I might go and see The Black Klansman at some point. I asked this same person, actually, have you seen Nope? I asked them on Twitter last night, have you seen Nope? And she replied, nope. So there you are. Okay, so I'm coming out of the woods, out of the alleyway, into the streets. You'll be familiar with this area. I swear they've bloody been building since I was here last. So when did I last go to the View? I can't remember when I last went to the View Cinema, because my last Roving Review, Dune, was at the Curzon. I went to the Curzon, but that wasn't there, I don't think. So I don't know when I last went to the View. I wonder if that's changed. Like I said, according to their website, they still take cash payments reluctantly. So I'm not really expecting any trouble. But here we are. I'm nearly there. as always, I'm seeing this film with completely fresh eyes. I make a point of this, even though you can't escape like the adulation, because I'm on UFO Twitter all the time. These things are recommended for me, all the tweets I get. So you know, I have seen a few tweets saying, "Oh, it's wonderful, it's brilliant, it's fantastic," you know. And again, because of the Atwood effect, I do wonder if, you know, I don't necessarily accept that. It all depends on whether this particular film has the same conceptual elements that Get Out did. In other words, it moral blackmails the viewer into saying they like it, whether they do or not. Because to state openly you dislike it is to be morally substandard. You know, you're essentially a racist. You don't like it because it has these anti-white themes. You know, it's like it's a dirty trick, and I don't like it. It's a nasty. It's a cynical, dishonest method, I think, of achieving cinematic success. Ah, got bits of blackberry in my teeth. Do we go under this bridge now? I remember this. I actually came through here in taxis years ago. It was all dark because down here there used to be something called the Mintry Farm Country Club. It was long since demolished, but it was where my shift tended to do the traditional hospital porter's thing, usually on a Friday night after our 6 to 2s. It was our sort of place. It was that kind of place. And there's the Oxford Science Park to my right, and View Cinemas straight ahead. So yeah, I think the best thing to do is just, I'll say no more. As I said, I said earlier, I didn't finish my sentence, that I watch it with completely fresh eyes. I haven't seen any reviews. Like I said, I saw the tweets and things, but they didn't give any details, and I didn't stop to read them. I haven't read any reviews or anything like that. I haven't read that, so I don't know anything. I don't know what the film's about. Apart from seeing the trailer and reading the posters, I don't know what the film is about. Except I know it's about aliens and UFOs, therefore it's the reason I'm going to go and see it. So they're building something here, you still some hoarding. So with no further ado, let's get in there and watch it.
What you're about to see is a very poor quality copy of the original file that I filmed following my exit from the cinema. I'm very, very sorry about this. It's unavoidable for this particular production. It's caused by a malfunction of my camera. I will be getting it sorted out properly soon. So I hope it doesn't ruin your enjoyment too much of this video. Get a load of this. Stand in the park. Yay! Okay, I'm out the cinema. Gonna head back. Looks like there's a match tonight at the Kassam. That's the stadium there. It's been raining again as well. I think they're here to watch the football. I made some notes as usual, which it's difficult making notes in the dark, but I've made a few notes on this notepad I have with me. You can't use the phone in there. It's too. Alright, so I know it's football going on. It's like something's going on in there. There's a match on or something. Yeah. Start with the positives. It's better than Get Out. It's a lot better than Get Out. And mind you, that's not really much of an achievement, is it? Strange film. Not what I expected. I don't see why UFO Twitter love it so much. To me, it's not. I suppose it's just not bad. But it's weird working out what's going on. The opening scene is really strange. It's like you see a ruined lounge, and there's this chimpanzee sitting there with a party hat on his head and a dead body lying beside him, and you think, what's going on there? It doesn't make any sense. It is explained later on, but then it immediately cuts to then another prologue, which is you see a house. The match is about to start. It's this little house like in the middle of nowhere, like in the trailer you saw in the trailer. It's actually I don't know what the word is, horse trainery. It's a place where horses are trained, and what they do is it's a place where horses live, like a farm for the horses. They train the horses to appear in films, and then they sell them to various film companies. So they train them to behave in a certain way, like train them to be good with sword fights or something, people with sword fighting around them, or train them not to be distracted by and look at things around them, which is very important later on in the film. But as Keith David is the first character you see, he's this old guy, cowboy type figure, who's like the patriarch of the farm, and they just call him Pop, he's the dad. And he's got a son and a daughter, OJ and Emerald, and they're sort of like running it with him. And then something happens which I don't quite understand. Which is everything seems normal, but you get a sinister atmosphere. Football, and there's a sinister atmosphere, and then you hear objects falling around them, and it's like you don't know what it's like, hailstones or something. And then Pop falls off the horse, and he's really badly injured. And then they take him to hospital, and his face is all bashed up, and he dies. Flash forward, it's basically OJ and Emerald who are like running the farm, and he's dead. I must point out, like the dialogue is very hard to follow. I often find this with cinemas because you get this booming surround sound with a very heavy bass, and a lot of the characters have very low, gruff voices like that. And this character head host, this film producer or cameraman they bring in, I mean, you can hardly hear a word he bloody says. He talks like this all the time. And like I say, in the cinema with this heavy bass line, difficult to follow. Could have done with subtitles. Not least, also, OJ and Emerald speak in what's today called, I think today it's called Ebonics. It's also known as colloquial African American English. It used to be called, well, I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's similar to jive. I mean, jive's another thing entirely. And of course, with jive's very strong Ebonics, and of course, in the film Airplane, the Zucker and Abrams film, they make a big joke out of it, and it's really funny. But of course, you can't actually. That will be banned nowadays for being politically incorrect. But in this film, they're speaking this kind of mild Ebonics. Daniel Kaluuya, who plays OJ, actually does quite a good accent, I must say, because he's actually, I don't know what his nationality actually is, but I know he lives in Britain, and he speaks with an English accent normally, because I've seen an interview with him, and he puts on this accent quite well. I don't know much about Emerald's character, but OJ's film is, OJ's mobile phone is kind of like a 1990s one, it's not very good. And I wondered for a while whether it was going to be like about human mutilations, because obviously I know it has a ufological theme, or at least I thought it did. And then the next scene is this rather silly. They're making an advert for the trainery, whatever you call it. They managed to dig up an old film it's like an experimental film from the late 19th century of a black man on horseback, and then OJ is presenting the advert, and he's going to explain how that's their great grandfather or something. And he's completely unknown. And 2 points here. Firstly, Emerald sort of like pushes in front of him, and she sort of like pushes him out the way really, and starts talking over him, and she becomes the presenter of the advert. There's actually a lot of sibling rivalry between Emerald and OJ. You know, there's another scene where she goes on about having to compete with him. You know, she wanted to train this horse, and he ended up training it. Things like that. So there's this rivalry between them as brothers, and so usually it's two brothers who have a rivalry. But in this case, it's the brother and sister. And this is to be honest, to be fair, one thing I was pleased about, I was pleasantly surprised, was this scene was really the closest it really got to real wokeism. In fact, it was the only example I could find in the film, which I'm pleased about, actually. I'm happy about that. The people making the advert are they're all white, and there's this sort of like rich, sort of starlet type, aging Hollywood actress who's very spoiled and demands lots of makeup and things like that. And then there's the rest of the crew and that, and they're being a bit, they're sort of going, oh, do this, do that, and they're all white, and then the horse, whose name is Lucky, this is the one that doesn't get distracted easily, they put like this kind of like, I don't know what it is exactly, a light meter or something in front of the horse's face. The moment the horse sees its own reflection, he goes crazy, starts kicking and things like that, and then they all get awkward, they all get uppity and they blame OJ for it. And that's kind of a bit wokey, but that's the closest it gets to. You get the spoiled white woman and the obnoxious white film director and things like that. I've got to get these in the right order. Just going through these notes. I'm going back home a slightly different way now. And then the next scene that you get OJ's trying to film this, make a sale of this horse to this guy whose name is Park. He's like this Korean film promoter or talent promoter or film producer or something like that. Never quite work out exactly what his role is. And you find out later he has this is where you find out about the chimp, because it turns out what happened was when he was a little kid in the 90s, he was involved in this kind of comedy series about the family that lived with a chimpanzee called Gordy. And during one of the scenes, the chimp goes crazy. Now, chimpanzees are actually, they often appear in films, but actually they don't make good pets. You can't actually tame chimpanzees. And if they get angry, they're very dangerous because they're very strong. They can be very aggressive. And so Gordy basically kills all the crew, apart from Park, the little boy. I don't know what his first name is. Park is like a Korean surname. And then you think the ape's about to, the chimp is about to, it's covered in blood from killing the others. He goes up to the little boy. Park's like a little boy, about 9 years old, hiding under a table. He goes up to him and it's like, you think he's going to kill the little boy, but then he sort of like calms down and reaches out, holds out his hand. But at that moment, someone shoots the chimp. Probably one of the security guards, somebody shoots the chimp. Now, I'm not exactly sure. I don't honestly know what that scene means. Is there some, maybe I don't want to get paranoid and think there's some symbol in it, and the Peel is trying to say, well, it's symbolic of slavery and the Holocaust and things like that. I don't, God knows. I think maybe I'm just being paranoid if I think that, because there's no reason actually, apart from suppositions to wonder what that scene is doing in the film. But it explains a little bit about that character Park as an adult. He's a bit of a sensationalist. I must say this film has a very, very slow. It's very slow paced. It has a very slow paced has a very, very slow pace indeed. It's not actually an action film. The trailer is misleading. It has like action scenes in it. But some people might find it hard to follow the dialogue as I did. Probably, if I saw it on TV, it'd probably be a bit easier, not least because I could call up subtitles, but because the sound balance is a little bit easier to understanding strange accents. So, yeah. And again, in this sale, Emerald gets in the way again, so you get this like really, you see they're sort of annoyed with them. And every scene has a name of a horse. It's called Ghost. And this is where you get the first scene, which is a bit strange in terms of ufology, because you realise there's this shape in the clouds, and the horse gallops off, and the horse just vanishes. And you think, well, there's UFOs at work. There's UFOs here now, like
they took the horse. They basically took the horse, which it did. The UFO actually took the horse. It's actually quite well filmed. It's actually pretty well filmed. There's the spooky atmosphere, the night skies. You know, the acting's a lot better in this than it was in that Get Out. Kaluuya seems to have a role now which suits him a bit better, I'd say. Or maybe Jordan Peele has become, maybe he's learned a couple of things about directing since he became a director. It's obvious in this film, he's not just playing for white guilt like he did with Get Out. He does seem to want to do a good job with this film. Now, I don't think he quite succeeds, but he puts in the effort, which is something. Now, when this happens, the first thing Emerald says is basically, we gotta... She says, her first thought when this horse gets taken by the UFO at night is, let's get a film of the UFO, and we'll be on the Oprah Winfrey show, and we'll be millionaires. We've got to get a photo of the UFO. Oh yes. And so, there we go. Get these notes the right way around. And so they go to this place and they go to a computer shop and order a full suite of outdoor CCTV. And the guy who serves them becomes a major. His name's Angel. He's a white guy with sort of dyed blonde hair. And once he installs the TV, he becomes kind of friends with them and decides to help them with their quest. And this is the most interesting part of dialogue. The most interesting bit of dialogue is that he says he seems to know about UAP and things like that, which obviously the director-writer then has obviously researched this. So he says, they're not called UFOs anymore, they're called UAPs. And then OJ says, oh yes, the Nimitz footage. And I thought, bloody heck. You see that in the Nimitz footage has now become like the new Roswell, I suppose. It's something that everyone knows about. So much so they can really put it into a film without much explanation. So I was impressed with that. That was pretty interesting. So, and he says things like, what are they, time travelers? Are they going to invade? Stuff like this. And he doesn't mention the fake alien invasion, but he thinks the aliens are waiting for their time to invade and things like that. They create a decoy sculpture of a white horse. It looks very like Lucifer, the one outside Denver Airport, and I think maybe that's deliberate. Sort of like rearing up, So this bloke Angel is kind of he sort of becomes. He also hacks into the. Oops, just dropped a bit of note paper here. He hacks into the CCTV and watches with them, and then he says, when they get angry about it, they say, that's illegal. He says, I'm really trying to help, And there's a quite scary scene where you see these like figures in the stable. I thought OJ sort of like walking around the stable just checking on the horses at night. He sees like figures, and you think they're aliens, but they're kids dressed up. They're like Parks, little kids. He's got like 3 kids, and they're all dressed up. Can't read my notes there. What happens next? Well, there's something strange happens. Well, Park, I'll go into what Park does. Park organises some kind of show, and I couldn't work out exactly what he was doing or why, like a circus show, where he puts a horse inside a cage with a curtain around. He invites like 40 people to come and watch, and he says, I can make the UFO appear. And then the UFO, then you see the flying saucer, what looks like a flying saucer, swoop down and grab them. And there's a brief shot, it's not very horrible, of them inside this UFO. And it looks like they're inside these curtains. And this is obviously supposed to be some kind of digestive system, and they're being eaten, they're being digested. Because, this is when the idea that, and it was Angel actually that tells them that some UFOs are living creatures, and you may have heard of the space serpents and things like that. The space serpents are like they look like snakes, writhing snakes, and they appear in the sky. Story Musgrave, most famous, the astronaut, filmed them, and they seem to be some kind of living creature. But this is like a living creature that looks, first of all, like a flying saucer. It looks like a classic flying saucer. Then it turns out that it's actually a living creature. Sorry, there are going to be spoilers in this, I should point out. And it's quite badly done, actually, I must say. Because it's made to look like a flying saucer first, then they make it some kind of alien creature, actually a living creature that can fly and eats people. Now, of course, this is a staple of some science fiction. I mean, they're aliens eating us for food, you're picking us up for food. And maybe there was some truth behind that, to have like a flying saucer then turn into a monster is just, I think that's a bit intellectually lazy. Don't think much of that. But they're all taken and they're all eaten, and and then they, oh God, I couldn't even read my writing. I'm trying to write in the dark, Emerald gets another idea. She calls this old film producer or film cameraman or something. His name's Ed Host, and he's the guy with the gruff voice. I can't understand. And he just sits around watching old videos of animals eating each other, and he thinks that's cool. And then he says, he doesn't have anything to do with them. She says, I could film the UFO. She says, you may think it's crazy. And he says, the first thing you know about crazy is it's not true. Or some other crappy one-liner, and he puts the phone down on her. So I didn't get any luck with that. And then, probably the stupidest, most tacky part of the film, the creature, you never work out exactly how it can fly, how it looks like a UFO. You see these things that look like these things, flying saucers and that. The witnesses who see them up close and encounter the beings makes it very, very clear the flying saucers are vehicles. They contain biological entities, but they themselves are vehicles. I don't know if that's a general rule, but I mean that's what ufology seems to have gleaned. What's more, it's later on when you discover this, it turns out that this creature, this weird creature, seems to be built like some kind of kite. It seems to be like fabric. It seems to be made out of some kind of fabric. Yet it has you don't work out how it can actually fly. But it hovers over their house at the trainery, and it drops the bones and the blood and the sort of inedible belongings of all the creatures. And I think that's a bit of a silly thing to do. That's just a bit of a silly detail, I think. A bit of a silly detail. Then this producer comes back, and they have this plan to film. You see, they're not actually trying to. This is weird. They don't actually seem to want to kill it or anything like that. Even though it's eaten like 3 of their horses, and it also eats it tries to eat them. I mean, it attacks them at some point. But it says they want desperately just to get some film or a photograph of it, and sell it and make money. And they call it Jean Jacket. This is the nickname they give this creature. They call it Jean Jacket. It was something to do with their dad. I mean, you see, the death of the father, Keith David's character, remains a mystery. You're never told that it has anything to do with the UFO, even though the UFO, it hides in a cloud, which is like a cloud which never moves. And he says it's just hanging there above you, with the other clouds are moving around it, and you don't notice, because you never watch the clouds move. And so to stop it, because it interferes with the electrics like UFOs do, and then to stop it like ruining their shots and everything, they have good old-fashioned handheld cameras, hand-turned cracks, non-electric cameras, like you see them using in the old movies, the old films of cameramen. Oh, anyway, found that rather trashy, personally. That's a rather trashy. See, they're not trying to kill it or anything. In the end, you have to see they get it to eat this inflatable balloon shaped like a little boy, and then it blows up for some reason. And then you eat like these bits of fabric flying everywhere. Oh, and they work out that if you don't look at it, it can't hurt you. Now, I never quite understood that. It was actually OJ that works it out. If you just put your head down and don't look at it, it can't hurt you. Because it does it attacks other people. It kills this other cameraman who comes along trying to get his own scoop. And they say he's with TMZ apparently. The TMZ guy's here, you know, and it's, he has a strange robot-like helmet and I was on a motorbike. It's a bit like something from you know, what's that called? I forgot the name of the series is. But it's like that TV series on Amazon. It doesn't help much, does it? But they don't try to kill it. In the end, they get a photograph of it just from like a novelty game on a nearby fairground. And then that's the end of the film. I mean, I sat right through the credits to see if I sat right through the credits to see if there was some kind of postscript like there was with Black Panther. You know, you get Black Panther, like I said, is not as bad a film as people told me it was. I enjoyed it more than I think they expected me to. But the best part of Black Panther was the postscript, where the Wakandans go to the UN and they say, we're going to come out, we're going to break our secrecy, we're going to come out and give you this technology. In other words, disclosure, give the world free energy. That's the best part of the film. I wrote an article about that. I'll say more later, probably when I'm going through the reviews. I can't think much else to say. The film is in terms of its plot and theme, it's actually quite weak. Like, that's literally the end of the film. There's no epilogue. Like I say, I watched the credits all the way through, about 6 minutes of the buggers, and it's just blank credits on an orange screen. There's literally no, and then it's an advert at the end for the fairground they used in the film, and that's it. So, that's all I can say right now. I say it's a bit of I want to say it's a disappointment. I was expecting it to be another bloody woke fest, and it wasn't. But anyway, there you go. That's the end of all my notes. So now we'll get on to the reviews.
Alright, guys and gals, it's time for that review again. Yes, the review issue, and I'm going to start off with The Guardian, called the news website of the year. My ass. Funny enough, when I clicked on this link, I had a pop-up came saying, please support The Guardian. You've read 14 articles this year. I have absolutely no intention of supporting The Guardian at all. I will not give them a penny. I have read 14 articles this year, and God knows why. But, you know, what I like, I need some kind of title, you know, like like Morgoth does. You know, he has this hate reading The Guardian videos where he has this little clip of a sewer engineer climbing down with a diving suit on, climbing down into this pile of excrement down a manhole. Yeah, I know exactly how that feels. So this is Mark Commodi, who is a white male. He's a fucking white male. I wonder, he's probably gay. He must be gay. I wouldn't have a straight white male doing this. Anyway, this is he titles it as a horror movie, and I suppose it is. Jordan Peele's brilliantly horrifying Ride to Nowhere. Oh, right. He's given it 3 stars. Racist. Anyway, let's have a look, shall we? The director's elliptical follow-up to Us, oh, I've not seen Us, stars Daniel Kaluuya as a California wrangler defending the family ranch from a deadly threat from above. So a wrangler, is a wrangler a horse trainer? I know it's a pair of jeans. So is that what it means? All right. At a key moment in this self-consciously deconstructive slice of spectacular cinema from Jordan Peele, the writer-director of Get Out and Us. Yeah, well, I told you about Get Out, didn't I? A character theorises that the monster, whatever it may be, is at its most dangerous when being looked at. It's an idea as old as the Greek myth of Medusa. I did find that a bit strange and interesting, and a bit strange actually. It is like Medusa. Medusa is a gorgon from the Greek myth, and this was a creature, a feminine creature with snakes for hair, and if you looked at her, you turned to stone. And yeah, and it's a strange, it's an interesting story. How it works in ufology, I don't know. I mean, why that would have anything to do with ufology, I don't know. And it says here, it even cheekily echoed. It is evenly cheekily echoed in Adam McKay's recent "Don't Look Up," in which Trumpian politicians insist that destruction by comet can be avoided simply by refusing to stare death in the face. Oh, now Don't Look Up. I actually quite enjoyed Don't Look Up. It's a comedy. It's a comedy which about a comet hitting the Earth, and about how when I actually reviewed it on Her Panama Voice. If you want to go and read that, when scientists report that a comet is about to hit the Earth, it's met with really stunning indifference, and it's a black comedy which is funny, but it's extremely misanthropic. But I did enjoy it, and it just gives this particular article carries on and gives a summary of the plot, despite there being extensive spoilers everywhere about what OJ is up against. Well, it's in the bloody trailer, really. Yeah, it's best to see Nope unprepared and spend a healthy amount of time wondering WTF is going on. Oh, you mean you're not supposed to like purify yourself if you're a white male? I don't know. Anyway. Suffice to say that Peele draws us on a wide range of influences, from the awestruck human befuddlement of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I don't think this was anything like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was not. I mean, there was befuddlement among the characters. I mean, the acting is pretty good in this, I must say. Kaluuya, as I hoped, has actually, he and Peele have actually got together and have finally produced something slightly worthwhile compared to what they did before. But yeah, he also says, "The far too pleased with itself silliness of M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening." I've never seen The Happening, actually. Shyamalan, I thought I'd watched all of Shyamalan's films. I've not seen this one. The one that I think is very underrated is The Lady in the Water. But that's the one all the Shyamalan fans hate and the critics hate, and I think it's pretty good. All right, so I'm going off topic here, isn't it? Yeah, it just goes on with a few more what he thinks is our influences. Now, what's interesting is he mentions an interesting B movie, which I actually was thinking about in the cinema, and it's interesting. This guy's thought of it too. It's called Tremors. And it is a little bit of, it is slightly like, it is slightly like Tremors. Tremors is a film about a creature underground, like a giant man-eating underground worm. It's actually, it's a bit simplistic, but it's actually quite funny. He also mentions it's a bit like Jaws, with the inflatable air dancers standing in those floating yellow barrels. Oh no, don't be daft, From the rich stew, Peele cooks up an elliptical and sometimes frustratingly paced yarn about our habit of staring in stupefaction at danger, disaster, and trauma. I suppose that is a bit fair. It's fair enough, actually. Yeah, and he says it's a frustrating pace. It is actually it really drags. The trailer gives a false impression of it very, very much. Yeah, but it's generally I think this is not a bad, for The Guardian, that's actually not a bad review. And the fact that he's been honest enough to give it 3 stars, I think, says a lot. When you consider maybe it's because they're really, even though this was a film starring mainly black people, it wasn't a racial movie. I mean, in a sense, they could easily have recast it with white people. It wouldn't have made any difference. They'd have had to just get rid of the stupid woke scene where they were filming the advert. But who'd missed that? So it's maybe that's why he's given it 3 stars. So obviously, like if this in Get Out, it'd be entirely different. This review would have definitely sung its praises to the high heavens, and indeed, The Guardian did. I think the next stage in this series of reviews is the indie. Now, I wanted to do the Times, but the Times is now behind a paywall, as is the Evening Standard, which is a bit annoying. The Independent is still free. This particular review is still free anyway. And also the independent voice is pretty much the same as the Times voice. No preview. Jordan Peele's third film is funny, weird as hell, and thrillingly original. And this bugger's given him 5 stars. This is Clarice Loffrey. Sorry, it's old lady. This woman has given it 5 stars. The consistently brilliant filmmaker. This is the second of the films I've seen by Jordan Peele. The only reason I consider it worth watching is because it's better than the last pile of rubbish he produced. The cultural Marxist shit that was Get Out is unwatchable now. I couldn't watch it again. This I would consider a poor film generally, but compared to Get Out, it's actually good. Mind you, the test card is good compared to Get Out. Here we go. Anyway, this consistently brilliant filmmaker has traded the claustrophobic, labyrinthine quality of Get Out and Us for open skies and pure spectacle. Ooh. Here we go. When proof of extraterrestrial life slides its way into the lives of Noop's underdog heroes, their first instinct is to find a way to monetize it. Yeah, I thought that was a little bit tacky. Even when, in the scene where they're talking to Angel and he's talking about UAPs, it's pretty obvious, that Peele has done his homework, and there's talk of the Nimitz footage. It's he has actually at least done a bit of basic research into UFOs, and it's a shame that the characters aren't a little bit more idealistic, I would say. I think Angel probably is, but OJ is a little bit. I think in a way he's subordinate to Emerald. It was her idea to just get. She wants to get a photograph of it so she can get onto Oprah Winfrey's program and be rich. That's the most honest reaction I've ever seen in a horror film. It's also exactly what I'd expect from Jordan Peele, a filmmaker who sees the social condition with such simple clarity that his films always feel like a series of mic drops. Oh, God. I suppose that's true, but I don't think that's a good thing. Nope is funny, it's weird as hell, it's a large-scale popcorn sci-fi with razor-sharp intellect. Okay, it's a bit weird, I think, but popcorn sci-fi, maybe, if you're in the mood for it. It's vaguely entertaining. Razor-sharp intellect? Really, apart from that scene, that conversation with Angel, there is no real intellect to it. It's actually pretty, it's actually silly, I suppose. And it gives like a little bit of a list. What it says, interestingly, is it says they recently lost their father in a freak accident. It seems like a really freak. I never understood exactly why the father, Pop, Keith David's character, I never understood exactly why he died. There's this noise of what sounds like hailstones falling, and then he just falls off his horse, and that's it. He's badly beaten. He's badly beaten around the head, and he's dead. And I was hoping it would be some connection to the main plot, which would be UFOs or aliens, carnivorous aliens, but it's not. Yeah. The possibility of extraterrestrials as Brandon Pereira's tech kid hanger-on Angel. Yeah, that's the character. I quite like that character, actually. As with Get Out, there was a reasonably good supporting character too. Today seems less tied to philosophical questions about our existence and more to pop culture fluff like the History Channel's Ancient Aliens series. Yeah, I must say that, that I didn't mention this earlier, but Angel is a big Ancient Aliens fan. He mentions it twice. He actually says the History Channel's Ancient Aliens. He mentions it twice. Peele's underlying message with Nope is clear. There's no remaining part of the galaxy that can't be exploited for entertainment. Yeah, I guess that's kind of true. Now, in a way, that does make it slightly like Don't Look Up. In terms of the kind of it's slightly a misanthropic attitude. I think Emerald is kind of, maybe she's portrayed in this derogatory manner as a somewhat shallow and materialistic young woman. I think I wouldn't even consider getting the Oprah shot if I saw something like that. I just want to film it, photograph it, and get the word out. And Peele, with that same exquisite imagination he brought to Get Out, oh shut up, always finds the most unexpected ways to prove his point. Yeah, this he goes on now to conform it as compare it to a western. It's not really like a western, or it's a neo-western. Firstly, it's set in the present day, and secondly, I have to say, it is the racial identity of the characters. Those two things, I think, preclude it from being described as a western. The western side, I think, is simply the horses. It's the theme of horses and the sort of high deserts of the United States, which is where it's set. He says, now this guy says, it doesn't quite feel accurate to say that Nope's sci-fi premise is indebted to Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind or Jaws. All right, so this guy's not, he's not comparing to that, yeah, or to Hitchcock's Thrills. Peele's innate understanding of cinematic history may have come from his years of lampooning movie tropes on a sketch show. All right, yeah. Yeah, it's, as I said, I'm glad. I think the Guardian review was a bit mistaken to compare it to Close Encounters and Jaws, but you know, but I didn't see that in it at all. But anyway, that's the Guardian's review. I'm not reading this entire review, but that's their review. So, sorry, not the Guardian, the Independent. That's the Independent's review, which I think is more. It's more perceptive than the. It's more perceptive than the Guardian, even though he gives it 5 stars, and she gives it 5 stars, and she enjoyed it an awful lot more than I did. Now, of course, we move on to The Sun, the old current bun. You've got to watch that. You've got to do that, haven't you? Yeah. And this is by Dulcie Pierce. Jordan Peele returns to form with his glorious, awe-inspiring Western sci-fi. Yeah, that's The Sun voice. Again, Western, no. Awe-inspiring, glorious, awe-inspiring, not really. But returns to form. I mean, it could be. I think The Sun probably took a dim view of Get Out because they're quite anti-woke, or at least they used to be. But anyway, he says this will surely take audiences on for a thrilling ride. Reuniting with his Get Out star Daniel Kaluuya, Peele focuses on this Western sci-fi story on 2 siblings who run a Hollywood horse wrangling business. Oh, horse wrangling, that's the name. But again, is it a sci-fi Western? No, I mean, it's sci-fi, certainly. Don't know if it's Western. I don't think it qualifies as a Western, but except for the horses and things. But again, gives this review then gives it a basic rundown of the plot, and how the 2 characters are different. Where Emerald is an extroverted, fast-talking charmer, OJ is somewhat introverted, a hard-working man who inserts heavy meaning into his few words of dialogue, and pensive looks as suspicious flying objects appear in the sky. Yeah, the acting is actually pretty good. Both Emerald's actress Keke Palmer and of course Kaluuya as OJ. Yeah. Hoping to cash in on the cultural obsession with UFOs, the siblings hatch a plan with the help of an electronics store worker, that's Angel, and a sinister visitor, but soon realise they're not the only locals hoping to profit from this alien phenomenon. That's the TMZ guy, yeah, that's the TMZ guy. The visual and sound effects are breathtaking, with a sinister beauty informing the appearance of the otherworldly threat. I don't know, see, I've really got this really interesting impression that the backdrops, there's these backdrops of the mountains, which I suspect may be scenery. I do. I mean, scenery can be used very well. I mean, even matte painted scenery. Like, thing is, in the film Tesla, they used a matte painted visual backdrop, which was actually not very good, rather crude. It works quite well in films like Gone with the Wind. In fact, there's some beautiful visuals in that with the paintings and things in the background. This is obviously like photographed, but it's different. But this is interesting because then this reviewer then says, but as with all Peele's films, he tells it through a distinctly black lens. I don't, as I said, apart from that silly scene with the advert, I don't think he does. And the ebonics, of course, in the dialogue, the accents of OJ and Emerald. Nope reminds audiences that black cowboys were and continue to be a part of Western cultural landscapes through nods to Sidney Poitier's 1972 movie. But yeah, I must actually correct something I said earlier. There may well have been black cowboys but in classic Western, in the tradition of Western movies that you get from Hollywood, they tend to be white. By that does, I think, count, even if there were indeed black cowboys in the past. But I've seen Buck's actually not a bad film. I was Sidney Poitier, that was quite good. But again, it wasn't really. If it's not Buck of the Preacher, oh right, it's a different movie. I was thinking of something else, got it mixed up with something else. The script has sharp humour, visual gags, and expert line delivery. Yeah, the script was a lot better. I didn't really find it very funny. There wasn't that much humour in it, I didn't think. There was a few jokes. It's even possible to see that the whole Gordy thing with the chimp as some kind of rather very, very dark and very, very facetious bit of comedy. But generally, I would say it wasn't that funny. I didn't really laugh at it. There's a couple of funny moments where I might have chuckled, but I wouldn't call it a comedy. Anyway, I'd say that's probably the best review of all of them. So well done to the current bun. And of course, what series of reviews on Hapanwo TV would be complete without the good old Rotten Tomatoes? So Rotten Tomatoes, that's interesting. It calls it 2022 horror mystery thriller, 2 hours 15 minutes. The Tomatoma gives it 82%, so that's pretty high. That's the poll of polls with the critics. Audience score 68%, slightly lower. That makes it. I think that's probably interesting. I think the film. Well, I think it's actually much more interesting, and the audience score is higher than the critics score. But this actually says an awful lot that possibly critics were influenced again by the fact this was Jordan Peele. There is essentially they may have picked up a moral blackmailing element to this in terms of the racial element, which I didn't detect at all. Apart from that silly scene which I mentioned before, it was not a woke movie. It was the actual racial identity of the characters is virtually irrelevant. I found it's not a black lens at all, as the Sun reporter says. So maybe the critics are a bit oversensitive to these, and most people. I mean, we're encouraged, I think, to be a bit oversensitive to things these days. But anyway, that's RT for you. And so that was my roving review of Nope. I'm glad to get back into these roving reviews, so I do like them. Must do some more. So thank you all for watching Hapanwo TV. Hospital Port as pride and dignity stop the New World Order.